Hello everyone and welcome to SkillCapped. I'm Notorious Dub and today I'm going to be breaking down the best one-ways, poison orbs, and Viper walls to help you be more effective with Viper on her best map on both offense and defense, Icebox. Now by no means is this an extensive list, it's simply the best and most effective lineups that we've been seeing being used in pro play and some of the best that the community has come up with so far. And this is to give you everything you need to play Viper to her full potential. And of course, just like with all maps, mid control is one of the most important sections of the map. And since Viper's attacking side is a little more tricky than her defense, we'll start with mid control on attacker's side. And don't forget, if you're serious about improving, then go to SkillCapped.com to unlock our hyper improvement system that will teach you how to win more gunfights, master your agent, and so much more. It's backed by our rank improvement guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. So come join over 500,000 satisfied members of SkillCapped. Improve that KDA, and get the rank you've always wanted at SkillCapped.com. Link in the description below. So the first thing to go over with Viper is the wall that she's able to throw all the way down mid to cut off most of the angles that the enemies are typically going to play. Now for this wall, simply tuck yourself into the corner of the boxes just behind the bi-phase barrier, and angle your wall to cut off the opening in the kitchen area. Now to do this, you're going to want to take notice of the blue line across the minimap. Now this is the path that your curtain will follow after you cast it, and most of your curtains are going to be thrown by looking at that blue line. And for this one, if you cut off that kitchen window that you're looking at, you have mid, tube, and kitchen all cut off from getting information and getting rid of all of the angles that the defenders would typically be playing. And the other option that you have with mid control is to throw your poison orb for control instead to get more pressure in deep mid instead of just taking full control of your half of mid. Now for this lineup, simply tuck yourself into the corner of the highest box in the stack to your right and the blue crate in front of them. Aim upwards at the perpendicular line just below the second lowest light and aim your crosshair directly left until you get to the edge of the roof. This lineup covers the entirety of the headshot peak that it seems like the enemies will be playing every round, and it's going to take over that little bit of extra mid control to scare the enemies to think you can push all the way up into their spawn. And don't forget, you can actually use this exact same lineup just as the round is starting from the bi-phase barrier, but you're going to want to move your crosshair just a little bit more to the left so it covers the entirety of the platform and doesn't leave a tiny crack in the left if you're throwing it from where we mentioned previously. Now let's move on to the A-bomb site. With the recent changes, it seems like A is the go-to site to attack, and Viper utility makes that task so much easier, starting with the poison orb. Now the most problematic angle hands down for enemies to be playing is going to be backside, and the go-to poison orb to help with that starts at the left side of the attacker's entrance up towards belt. Simply put yourself against the left wall, aim above the threshold of the protruding wall, and aim left just enough to not hit that wall on your cast. And from there, just a quick running throw will send the orb flying and land perfectly to cut off the initial peek from rafters, prevent anyone from peeking from backside early to stop the push, and gives your team essentially a free plant where all you have to do is just watch the exits of the smoke to cut off the most important angle that the defenders can work with. Now combine that poison orb with this curtain, tuck yourself against the left wall of the left entrance and shoot it right at the edge of the threshold of the door, and it will send the curtain all the way through the site, cutting off all of the good angles that the defenders can play on the left side of the site, and forcing them into unfavorable angles, maybe playing a little bit too close to you, and positions that become extremely difficult to actually stop a push from. And of course, once you get the bomb site with the plant down, you have to be able to finish the round, right? So let's talk about snakebite lineups for post plant. Now there are two main plant locations for this bomb site, the first of which being the default right beside the box in front of the nest. And with this common plant location, we can use very easy post-plant lineups like this. You want to go or stay all the way back to the attacker's entrance, and from this spot you can watch the flank as well as stand on the yellow line just below your feet. From that line, aim just above on the right side of the gray awning on the ceiling, and the snake bite lands perfectly on top of the bomb. And with how fast these snake bites actually land, you can actually wait until you hear the bomb get touched before you throw the poison, and the enemies still aren't going to have enough time to defuse, so you can get the most out of your utility as possible. And with the other post plant, this common plant position is actually inside of nest, and this is for when you have the site completely free, and here you rotate or stay in the exact same spot you were last time. And once again, as long as you're standing on that yellow line, you aim your crosshair just to the right side of the awning, but this time aim all the way up at the light just above it. This will send the snakebite flying and land perfectly on top of the bomb in nest. And of course, it wouldn't be a Viper video without talking about her ultimate. And usually, the entire goal is to cover up as many angles as you can, make the enemies walk through as much toxin as you can, all while giving yourself a few spots to hold while keeping the enemies in front of you. And the best way of doing this on a bomb site is a safe ultimate on the bottom left side of the entrance ramp. Now this ultimate covers up everything except for deep back sight and gives multiple angles to play deep into to give variety when the round gets rough, while also giving you multiple angles to play with your back against a wall to help keep the enemies in front of you. Now there are other ultimates that loop around the back of sight or cover different areas, but backside gets spammed far too often for you to actually play it in the smoke, and the enemies have too many angles to come in behind you with any other Viper ultimate, so it's better off just using the safe ultimate, taking control of as much of the site as possible while still being unpredictable enough to actually win that round. But with all of that taken care of, let's go ahead and move on to the B bomb site. Starting with Viper's Curtain, the utility Viper brings to the table starts to make the B bomb site a viable option to actually attack against. And with your Curtain, once again, look at the mini map to make sure that you're throwing your wall from somewhere near the entrance that you're going to be coming from, all the way to cut off the entirety of Snowman in the deep back entrance to the bomb site. This essentially cuts off nearly every problem angle that the enemies have to work with except for Yellow Crate. And this allows you to deal with that Yellow Crate in an isolated way before you actually push out and try to control the entire site, because that's the biggest way rounds are lost. You don't isolate the angles before you take control of the crate. And then the smoke that you're going to throw for B side is mostly going to help with post plant and keeping control of the site. But if you don't have your Curtain for some reason, this smoke is a must have for taking control of the site because it does cut off the majority of the problem angles just like the other one does. Now coming from the attacker's entrance, simply tuck yourself on the right side of these two metal beams, aim at the bottom left portion of the gap just above you, and just move your mouse upwards until you're about as far away from that big star to the right as you are from that bottom corner you just came up from. From there, it's really just a simple jump throw at the same time to get it over the beam. And this lineup does look a bit complicated, but honestly there is a lot of room to play with, and even if you're a bit off, it will still land near perfectly on default, covering up the bomb plant and reducing the angles that you have to worry about. And once again, let's talk about the snake bites that you're going to be throwing after you get the bomb down. Now the first thing is to take care of the default plant that we just looked at. Now make your way back to the right side of the beams just like before, except this time aim at the corner of the accent on the beam to the left. Aim up until you're at the edge of the beam up top and quickly jump and throw at the exact same time to give the poison enough lift to just not hit the beam. Once again, even if you're slightly off, it will almost land perfectly every single time as long as you don't hit that beam just above you. And the other post plant we should look at on B bomb site is for the inside of the tube. Now this is actually a safer plant because the box that you're planting behind has a little bit of armor plating in the top right that you're going to be planting behind, stopping you from getting headshot if they're spamming through the box. But nevertheless, you're going to tuck yourself in the corner by the box at the entrance to B long. Aim up at the corner of the hanging down brown piece off of the beam and just drag your mouse down until you're in the middle of this gap in the middle of nowhere. Firing here is a lofty throw that takes care of the entire back plant where someone will be planting near tube. Now keep in mind though, both of these post plants take a few seconds to land, so you're going to need to throw them before you actually hear the bomb being defused, and just take your time after that to stop the enemies from defusing it further. And of course, the default ult that you're going to be using on B site. So all you have to do is to execute this lineup is ult on top of the footprints that come off of the corner of the light strip on the ground in the middle of the site that is leading towards Snowman. By ulting on top of this, you take an entire chunk out of the middle of sight and segment the site off completely, isolating a ton of different angles, forcing everyone to come into the smoke if they want to play the bomb site, and giving yourself a ton of different angles to play, holes to peek, and rooms to play mind games with. Alright, now that attacker side is out of the way, let's take a look at the defensive abilities that you're going to be using, once again starting off with mid control. Now here, Viper Wall is once again going to be the best utility for locking down mid, because a simple wall that cuts the enemy's entrance off, just like this, forces the enemies to walk into the unknown without clearing any angles before. Now this wall also gives Viper the ability to walk up aggressively with their wall up and get a very early flank down whenever their team sees the enemy stacking somewhere. Now this wall is also really good because Viper's Poison Orb doesn't do much for mid control. It's essentially used the same way that this wall would be, or it would just be in the way, allowing the enemies to sneak into tube without you actually knowing. But when it comes to B bomb site, Viper's Poison Orb is arguably one of the best abilities in the game. Here, simply tuck yourself in the crack between these two crates, aim where the rivet meets the wall, and jump right click at the exact same time. This will land the poison orb on the rivet just below the other one that you aimed at and give you the perfect one-way that almost allows you to lock down B site solo from any angle that you actually want to play it from. And then on B, you have a few different options with your wall. So the default wall that you're going to use to cut off the entirety of bomb site, just like our wall functions for mid control. You're going to throw it from all the way back near Snowman, once again lining it up using your minimap to make sure it goes across every single entrance and peek on the bomb site as possible, lining up that entire wall in a straight line where they have to peek out from the smoke. This makes the enemies have to push out without clearing any angles and forces them to have to make an incredible shot on you whenever they actually realize where you're playing and make that huge flick to you. This is also a great wall for retaking because it blocks off all of the angles the enemies could be playing, aside from behind yellow, and a couple of pieces of utility, maybe even a raise grenade, can clear out that angle fully and give you a free kill before you even retake the site. And the other option you have is an aggressive wall. Here you're going to tuck yourself into the right cubby and shoot your wall all the way down the line, covering up both entrances to the lane. Just like before, this stops the enemies from being able to clear any angles before they hard commit to the push, and gives you a ton of freedom to hold the smoke with rifles, or even a judge if you're feeling it. And then with A site, we've not seen very much come in the way of one-ways or cool Viper walls, because the utility really does just fine being used the standard way, and the verticality makes one-ways too easy to play around. Here, all you're really going to want to do with your poison orb is to use it to cover up the main entrance where the enemies are either forced to walk through it or overcommit to pushing through belt with too many people. And then the best way to use your wall is to throw it in a straight line that cuts the site in half from mid. Just like we were doing before, simply use your mini map once again to make sure you're covering all of the angles, and this gives you a safety net to fall back into whenever they start to push through your poison orb, where you and your teammate can set up crossfires, divide the enemy team, and once again force them to commit to a push into the unknown where they've cleared no angles. And remember, if you want to improve, win more gunfights, and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out SkillCapped.com. Link is in the description below. Alright, so what's your favorite lineup for Icebox? And did I miss any that you've been using? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're down there, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn those bells on because we here at SkillCapped have a ton more comprehensive premium guides coming your way that you're going to want to stay up to date with so you can stay ahead of the pack. As always, I want to thank you for spending this little bit of your day with us, and I'm Notorious Dub, signing off.